Joining us right now is Juliana. Juliana, you have a film. It's called Aaron's Guide to Kissing Girls. It's a feature. And I got to say, good job on this, by the way. This is happening right now. You can go get your tickets right now. What was this like to put this together? It's a full feature of an hour and a half. We have only a few of those this year. A lot of them are shorts.
Oh man, it was quite the process. We started off just as a short back in 2016, and then we sort of developed the feature version of it from there. But yeah, it was many years of developing the script, getting funding. In Canada, we have something called Telefilm Talent to Watch, which is for first-time feature filmmakers. So that was the majority of our funding. Yeah, and obviously COVID delayed us a year, but we're so thrilled to be in this festival and other festivals around the world right now.
And tell us about what the story is, and where did you shoot it? I'm curious.
We shot it in my home city of Toronto, and the film is a queer coming-of-age comedy, and it follows middle school nerds Aaron and Liz, and they find their friendship tested when Liz is accepted into a private high school, and Aaron starts to develop a crush on the popular new girl.
Ooh.
Okay, so I have a question because she's Canadian, by the way. Rebecca is. So
I was like, where did you shoot it? Tell me everything.
Yeah. She has that special thing in Canada, the special So Juliana, okay. First of all, the one who plays this, obviously she's very bright. I love how she, you have that like her. Because and believe it or not, usually guys go in and I'll tell you right now, my first kiss was so awkward. It was the weirdest thing. But she kind of does this thing like, and I say it's like kissing a peach, right? Take a peach and you kiss a peach. But what was that moment like? Was that a personal story, or was that something you had written in?
I mean, I feel like most people have the experience of practicing kissing on their hand at that age, and if you say that you don't, you're lying. And it's just sort of like this like cute, awkward, tender moment of just trying to I don't know, to test it out for the first time.
Yeah Well, I think you did a great job with this. Obviously it's got a lot of let's put it this way, it's got a I'll put this. It's going to have a following because it kind of deals with something that is important to everyone, right? And especially when it says as middle school is ending, right? This is, what grade is she in?
The characters are all in grade 8.
Okay.
So they're heading off to high school the next year.
Yeah.
So it's a very awkward stage of your life anyways.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like when I was
where do you hope to see this movie go?
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking forward to our festival run. I actually am flying out tomorrow to San Francisco for the Mill Valley Film Festival, and then later to London for Rain Dance, which is really exciting. And then we're hoping that people will be able to see it in theaters. We'll have some news about that pretty soon, I think, sometime in the winter. And then hopefully streaming after that. But yeah, we're hoping it'll find its audience.
Yeah, I definitely think it will. I think, first of all, the characters in it, it's not just Aaron. There's one Liz, right? And then there's a few others. Can you talk about what it was like to do with, a cast of kind of, young ones that are like, ready to go next level in acting?
Oh, they were fabulous. Yeah, like, everyone always says like, oh, don't work with kids, don't work with animals. But like from the very beginning, the kids that we worked with were so professional and so lovely. And in a lot of ways, also like helped shape the characters. Like I always wanted this to be like a bit more of a collaborative process with them. Because I was like, well, like, I can remember being 13, but I'm not, 13 in like 2021, 2022. So like if anything doesn't feel like genuine or like, you know, off to you, just let me know and we can make changes. And for like we did for some of the characters.
What do you think the biggest changes were of being 14 when you were 14, 13, and now? Like, what do you want to communicate, or what do you want people to understand?
Well, I've been calling this film a love letter to my younger self. Like, obviously, there's a lot of changes in terms of like social media and like, you know, those sort of like cultural things. But just in thinking specifically from a queer lens, you know, certainly there are still challenges to coming out at a young age and being queer in 2022. But it was definitely not something I was even aware as like an option for myself at that age, and, you know, just had no language whatsoever. Whereas I feel like, you know, kids these days do. And that's also why I wanted this film to cover this age group, because with kids coming out at younger and younger ages, there's nothing really for them, I guess, like for that age. Like usually the earliest sort of like queer coming of age films start like in like late high school. So that's why it was important to me to have them at this age.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate that you did this, especially because sometimes at that age, you don't know how you're going to be judged, you know, and when you don't know that, you don't know how people are going to view things. And you're like, okay, do I have support eventually? Sometimes the question is, do the family support? Do you cover that in this film?
Honestly, the parents don't play a big role in the film. Like there's like anytime there are parents, they are supportive. But I really wanted the focus more to be on like the kid storyline, and like keep it in that world of kid. Cause I feel like there's just like, you feel like you are in your own little bubble when you're at that age. And so, the biggest, adult that features in the film is their teacher. And then you see like snippets of the parents, but it's mostly, kept to the 13-year-olds.
Well, I love it when yeah, go ahead.
Parents aren't really relevant at that age anymore.
Okay. They only give you the money. I get that. But no, but I like it when there are parents that are supportive of whatever the kid chooses, because at the end of the day, they're going to be there no matter what. And, you know, sometimes you don't even like, you know, some are very like, oh no, it's this or that. And I go, do you want your daughter with someone that's going to abuse them at the end of the day?
Yeah.
No, you know, so like, you know, let them think and let them kind of like, you know, it happens is my point. And so I think you know, I've always said this to parents, don't judge harshly, because you probably had some stuff that you're covering up when you were a kid, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all do stuff that we're not proud of at 13, 14.
Yeah, so great job on this. I can't wait to see it. Good job bringing it to the La Femme Film Festival. I know it's a subject that, you know, a lot of people are going to want to say, you know what, I get this, you know. So great job making it look fun, and great job on the film, because it looks really great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate this talk.
Thanks, Juliana.
All right, take care.
More after this. That's right. It is time for a film right now, Madly. It's part of the Film Festival here at 2022. And joining us is someone who is, well, let's put it this way. She knows a lot about it. Allison, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, this film really looks good. I love the poster. For those tuning in, what's it about?
It is a modern adaptation of Anton Chekhov's play, The Seagull. So if anyone knows about The Seagull, it's one of the most produced plays out there. It's kind of like Hamlet. You should know the play. And if you don't, well, then watch Madly and you'll know all about it.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I love the tat. Sorry, go ahead, Rebecca.
Do you want to just give us a quick rundown?
Sure. Alex is a manic bipolar playwright that gets canceled due to social media and has to recreate their version of what it means to be an artist and how to find their voice in the limelight.
It's beautiful. I think cancel culture is such a big topic right now. What are your opinions on it?
Oh gosh.
What are you hoping that people get out of this?
Alex gets canceled because a moment is taken out of context. And so the audience gets to see what really happened, but the phone just shows what people want to see. And in the play, the Seagull, the character that Alex is based on, Constantine, doesn't get canceled, but is just always struggling. And I think, I wrote this script. It was my love letter to the friends that died due to COVID in New York, for my friends and my family that died from COVID, for the theaters that are still canceled from COVID. And this was supposed to be a play that was going to be produced in Atlanta, Georgia, that Tyler Perry and all these people were going to see. It got canceled, so I adapted it to become a screenplay. And any of the funds that I make, I want to put into helping the suicide hotline. And so this is just my love letter to artists that feel like their voice isn't getting heard, truly. And to remind you that I want your voice to be heard.
And what do you think the difference in writing it as a screenplay and writing it as a film has been? Was it changed?
Oh gosh. Also this camera angle, we're trying to figure it out. So anyways, what was the biggest, plays are about words and films are about images. And so how do you blend those two together? You make, your first draft is the most wordy film of all time. And then you plug forward and truly understanding what does it, when you talk about manic bipolar, you think of plays that discuss that topic. And then films, you really need to show and not tell. And that was something that I still struggle with and am learning, because this is my first feature film, and I'm just so grateful for the opportunity to learn about what does it mean to make a film based on a play that was written in the 16th century.
Mhm.
And how do you make that accessible? And that was that's truly it. I think streaming services, films, it's so hard and it's expensive to see theater, and that's such a disservice for all of us. So I guess my response to that is hopefully blending it and making the love story become something visually attainable.
Yeah, I mean, I've been living in London for the last 2 months, and theater is thriving here, and it's interesting. It's like not a culture in North America, other than New York, really.
Oh yeah. I mean, you can go to Chicago and you can see comedy. You can go to LA, and I mean, LA does have a bunch of films. Or excuse me, of course it does.
Yeah.
Plays. And you have to understand what's so funny is, like, you know, the famous quote, theater makes you good, TV makes you rich, and movies make you famous. And I think hopefully one day we can be more supportive of theater, because you want to watch beautiful actors, and the only way that actors, in my opinion, and this, watch me get canceled, is by doing plays and failing hard in front of live audiences.
So
Well,
do you want to keep this as a show as well as theater?
Oh
Or
gosh,
do you-
yeah. I mean, we're in talks for Madly to become a play with some of the regional theaters that I write for as well. But I mean, this is I mean, in a dream world, with the next film that we're working on, is truly to make just plays more accessible. You know, when I finally am a, you know, financial, independent, incredible filmmaker, it will be my goal to adapt as many plays as possible and bring them to people, because I just think Broadway tickets are expensive and the stories are incredible, and I want to bring as much culture to them as possible. You know, Madly's one of the first times that you'll see Black actors playing these characters. You'll see it non-binary. You're going to see LGBTQ. I mean, why not bring the stories to life with things of modern problems, you know?
I think there's something, and Rebecca kind of tapped into it. It's true. There's something about live theater that you can't get in film, and there's something about film that you just can't fully get when you do it not right. And I'll put this out there because I think you did it right based on what I see in the trailer. I haven't seen the film, but sometimes certain people, they try to adapt a play like into modern cinema, and they fail because they do it like it's looking at a stage. You did it where if you didn't tell me it was a play or some like theater that, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't seen it. I would be like, it sits on its own, and that's very hard to do. So I think when you say you want to adapt play to people so that they can see it anywhere around the world, that's the thing about performance or play. Like Rebecca's saying, you have certain, you know, so many people in a place that you can actually see it. I love like plays like Phantom. You know, when they made that to cinema, I go, oh, it's not going to work. And then it kind of did, but it kind of didn't, because there's nothing like the real thing. But Gerard Butler did something I never thought he could do. So my point is this, Allison, the way you're shooting it, I think, is smart, and it takes theater next level, because here in LA, I'm not going to lie, because of coronavirus, a lot of places are closing down. There's a lot of, you know, I talked to non-union. I actually wanted to bring theater onto stream right before they actually did it to like Regal Cinema here in the US. And I was like, how can we go next level? But like I said, you have a good eye of making it not a stage for the film. You don't do that. You tell it differently, and then you include all the different people and you make it modern. I'll give you an example. I'm doing a Sherlock type thing for theater, but it could be featured, but it has to be shot differently, right? And it has to be told differently. And that's what you're doing. And I think you're tapping into something that's really going to go next level, because there's a lot of like original content in a way in independent cinema, but not in the big world of stuff. And that's kind of what you're going with, because I think you could bring some theater stuff full circle and make it so that you could see it at the theater, like, you know, Rebecca's seeing in Europe, but you can also see it like in New York, you can see it in LA, and for the people that don't get to travel, like the kids around the world, they can see it any which way, right? And then they could use that as like their story when they're told to do it in school. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think it would be so, I'm going to do a shout out, Ryan Murphy. When you're ready to work with me, I have in my head, how amazing would it be if you saw a limited series of like Death of a Salesman or Streetcar Named Desire or Hedda Gabler, and you truly made each season of that a play, and everyone's like, this thing's amazing, I've never read it. It's like, of course not, it was written in the 18th century. Why would you have?
Right.
And like bringing that, challenging the status quo of these stories, because everyone's so mad that everything is a copy of a copy of a copy. We have no new ideas, and that is what my character Alex says in the film is there's nothing new. And how do you create something new without respecting where it comes from? And that's the big theory discussion in the film as well. So yeah,
I say good job. I saw Much Ado About Nothing. I didn't read the script of Shakespeare because that's highly confusing. But when I saw it with like big actors like Michael Keaton, like Denzel Washington, and like others, I'm like, okay, I get Shakespeare now, right? And then I saw Hamlet with Mel Gibson. So these things can go next level. You don't have to do like Shakespearean. You can do, but even if you did, you bring it to the modern era, and then you go, okay, check that out, right? And you'd be surprised. The actors will go, wait, this is a thing that goes back that far? Oh, that's like a great piece that we should do now,
Right. I mean, I think it would just be such a disservice, especially for actors, directors, writers, all of us that are in this together. Instead of being mad at someone that doesn't know a play, is to uplift them and not even educate, because I do think that comes off as elitist, but just showing and portraying your passion. Because I think that's the next step for all of us, post-pandemic, post-streaming, getting ready for, whatever might come with this new world, and try to blend those worlds together. Instead of separating, as we all have learned, bring it together and figure out with the greatest of minds, how can we, help people? Because there's so many, how many art programs are being canceled right now, and how many people are not even going to know these plays because we just think it's not important. But so many times in my life, I've learned my best moral compass from Shakespeare, or challenging myself, or most importantly, and I'm sure because you guys are professional artists as well, how many times have you felt, oh, I'm not alone because I saw this story? So and that would be my honor to remind someone that they're not alone with this.
I love that.
Yeah,
love that.
Job.
I'm very excited to watch this, actually.
Yeah, there it is. Madly streaming this week. Go get your tickets. Click on the link below. It's lafemme.eventive.org/films. You can get it. If you want to just get this one, you click on select the showing, and then you can watch this one, or you can watch others as well. And you can join all the fun right there. Thank you very much, Allison, for doing everything that you're doing, and congratulations on the rest of the decade that we have coming ahead.
Thank you so much for your time. I've been loving the interviews, and please check out Madly, and follow me on Instagram, Allison Dane, or themadlyfilm.com or the Madly Film. And hopefully I'll have a PR person so I never stumble over this again. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. More after this.
In the beginning, all films were short. It's not a charity. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help your cause. We're there to make our money make money.
It probably takes a year to 2 years to really start seeing money.
That title of executive producer on a feature is not the same as the title of executive producer on a television show.
Don't give yourself a bad review before you start.
I'm sorry, I'm super awesome, and this is my pitch.
In the beginning, all films were short.
That's right. We got with us. It's called Our Dad Danielle. We've got SE, or also known as Sarah, and Leia. Is this someone that we know, or that we're gonna know, or that we're gonna want to know in this film?
Wait, who's someone we want to know? Danielle?
Yeah, both. Yeah.
Tell us about what the film is.
Sure. It's a documentary feature which charts a woman who came out as trans at 57 in Sugar Land, Texas, and it's about her two daughters, her wife of over 30 years, and then her law career in Sugar Land, Texas.
Okay, we're looking at that now. It look. First of all, I love the style it's done, and correct me if I'm wrong. This is more of a documentary / film, right?
Yeah, it's a documentary, and we worked on it for 4 years, and we started in 2018. It was actually originally going to be a web series that Danielle had written about, like the lighter side of being trans, but she the script wasn't very good, and her and her wife wanted to act it, and neither of them were very good actors. So instead of that, I asked if they'd be interested in making a documentary instead, and then thus began the movie in 2018.
I like that. And you know why I like that? Because I'm not going to lie. I saw someone at Target the other day, and I could tell he was alone. And I thought, okay, because I had a conversation about this very subject, and sometimes people don't understand. Sometimes people just don't get it, right? And I think in watching this film, I would assume, I haven't seen it, that at the end you get it, right?
You haven't seen it?
No, it's not out yet. It comes out the 13th.
Yes, this film is very much a celebration of the beauty that comes when you are able to live authentically. We want to celebrate that. Danielle was 57, so she lived a life for 57 years, and that's hard, but we wanted to celebrate the beauty that came once she was free and open, and it really changed her life. I mean, she changed her personality. It was like just all of those years of lying and feeling shame and guilt were lifted off of her, and she kind of just became like a whole new woman and blossomed. And so that's really important for us in the film. We really wanted to celebrate all of these women's, yes, they've been through horrific things, all of them, but ultimately we were really looking to shine a light on the positive message, which was that, it is hard to be out, and it's a very difficult thing to navigate, but all three of these women were much happier once they came out, and we wanted to celebrate that.
So what I'm really interested in also is you shot with an 100% female crew. Is that true?
Yes.
Tell me about that experience, because that sounds very exciting.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. Well, here, Leah Judge, why don't you say something? This is our producer, Leah.
Hi, nice to meet you. Yeah, so our core crew was all women or non-binary folks, and then we did have a couple of people within the crew who were a cis male, but they were a great addition. But 90% of our crew in total was all women, and we really
our core crew was 100%.
Oh yeah, sorry. And our crew overall were women or non-binary, which was really cool because we wanted it to be a very feminine experience. We wanted it to be very much feeling the female POV of what it's like to live in this environment. And we wanted all of the colors to be very feminine, just for it to be a very warm, feminine vibe while Danielle brings her, lawyer power. We do have one guy interviewed in the film, and that is Danielle's brother, Michael. But otherwise, everyone else in the film are women, and 4 of them are.
That wasn't intentional. That just kind of happened. Yes. But in terms of our crew, it was really wonderful, Rebecca, because there was just a level of just excellent communication. There was such great communication. There wasn't ego. I mean, except for me, because I'm a director idiot, so of course I have an ego. But it's just such a warm, welcoming environment, and that was really remarkable. And now, I mean, I'm not saying I would love to do it again, and I will work obviously with men, and I do, but that experience really was a life-changing experience for all of us. We really were bonded, and so many people, so many women helped me, worked for either free or nothing, like drastically lower than their rate, just because they believed in the project. And it really was a village that that it took to make this, and so we're just so grateful to all of the women that lended their talents and time to the film.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
Well, and I will say, I love in the beginning of this, you wrote this: Danielle Joy DJ Healy was terrified of being her true self for 57 years, fearing she would lose her wife, 2 daughters, and a prestigious law career. She almost died trying to shield those she loved from her reality. And then it says, for over half of her life, Danielle had privilege and power on the outside while suffering tremendously on the inside. So I will say this, it's kind of a coming like, hey, I'm going to be very real with you. This is, and we think of some of these things like in the news and we go, okay, a lot of people kind of, they say, well, I don't understand. And I say, look, if you're not living it, you don't understand. And then it takes certain ones to understand that along the way. And I think it took your team to do exactly that. And I love that you were very honest in the beginning when you said, they couldn't act, because I could tell you wanted to make a film out of this, but you did the next best thing, which is just let them be them instead of like having them play themselves, which I think is very telling. And I think it'll resonate with some.
We hope so. I mean, we really wanted to show a fully formed trans woman. She's not famous, and a lot of what we've seen has either been heavily dramatic or about famous trans people. And so we really presented an all-American trans woman who's an average woman. Yes, she's done some extraordinary things in her life, but she's, an average American woman, and she's just trying to live her life. And so are the other women in the film. And it was really important for us to show a fully formed, not perfect, complicated trans woman.
Yeah.
And where do you hope the future of this film goes? Where do you want people to see it? What message do you want people to get out of it?
We'd like it to be it will be on streaming eventually, but also one thing that we really want to come out of it is one of the characters in the film was an asylum seeker from Honduras and had an awful time in the detention centers because she was put in a male detention center and she couldn't speak English, but she wasn't given a lawyer or a translator because there's no obligation for that to happen. And thankfully she was connected with some people in the Texas LGBTQ center, but that doesn't always happen for people. And so wanting to work with a couple NGOs to try to have a campaign, an impact campaign that comes out of this as well, to bring more awareness of how people in these detention centers need resources and need to be helped.
Oh, I'm glad you said that, Leah. And thank you again for joining us here at the Femme Film Festival. I always say, whatever you can bring it, and then get the understanding out. Because I think, again, we say we're tolerant. I hate that word tolerant because it means you have to tolerate things. But what I like better is to understand what someone's going through and then say, okay, maybe I don't agree, but at the end of the day, let them be who they are. And like kind of you put at the beginning, he struggled with this, and when he was out about this, they were understanding of him being what he wanted to be as, Danielle. So I think it's a great story about something that's real. You're not, telling a story that you want to be told. You're letting them tell their own story in the way that they are living it. And you're not trying to put anybody else's opinion on that to kind of in a way like say, oh, I say this or that, kind of like other people's, want to believe, you know what I mean? So you bring real, true understanding to it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. More right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's right. It's Christine Twyman with us. Hello. How are you doing, Christine?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Rebecca's with us. Rebecca's in Europe. Where are you at, Christine? Where are you tuning in from?
From LA.
Awesome. Okay, we're pretty much neighbors. Okay, Complex is the film. I love that we can connect all around the world, you know, and stream all of these great films. I can almost guarantee Rebecca's going to want to see this. Can you tell me what Complex is and why is it exactly that?
So it's actually a web series pilot. It's a sci-fi thriller about a girl who is going through an experimental, like a very extreme experimental complex PTSD therapy. Yeah, and it's that mostly because I wanted to play around originally with just doing something that was very visually visceral, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I just started writing, and from there the story developed, and then it ended up being a story that was very important to me as well as my director. We both are people who have had our own mental health struggles. My co-director. So I think approaching this story was, I think, cathartic in a way.
Yeah, I think we were mentioning that there's a lot of content that's coming out right now that has to do with mental health because it's such a topic that nobody's ever addressed before, not in the way that we are now talking about it. So I'm excited to hear what your perspective is or what your angle is. If you want to tell us a little bit more about what we can expect to get, what kind of message do you want to get out of this?
I think for me, the goal in not just the pilot, but eventually the entire series is to create a representation that I think is more accurate to what PTSD is. I think a lot of the times when we're seeing people, like we do see PTSD on screen, but it's a very specific version of it, oftentimes like either military, sometimes SA victims, and a lot of the times we're seeing from the external, we're seeing how their actions are being perceived, or we're seeing what their actions are. We don't necessarily always see what's actually inside the head of someone with PTSD, what a flashback looks like from behind their eyes. Another really important thing for me was something that is newer in the mental health, like a newer discussion in the mental health world, is the concept of complex PTSD, which is PTSD from not just one singular event, but a series of events. So it looks very different in how it's formed than how normal PTSD does look as well. And it's not as widely discussed, but it seems to be something that may actually, as we learn more about it, may actually be more widespread than than what we normally look at as PTSD.
So okay, I'm going to read this. I think it says it really well. It says Benny Lipton is trapped. She is trapped in a bad relationship, trapped in a cycle of abuse, and trapped in her own mind. She's being treated, as you mentioned, complex PTSD to no avail, and her reality is growing more warped by the day. I got a question. What is the reality she's living now all of a sudden? And sometimes people don't understand when you're trapped in the mind, sometimes you're obviously you're not somewhere else. You're just kind of like, in a world where you go, okay, what next?
Yeah, for her, she's trapped inside of this, like for her personally, she's trapped inside of this concept of not really knowing what's real and what's not, where what's actually happening and how you perceive the world around you. I think I Oh, there you go. I lost you guys for a second there. But basically, it's she's trying to figure out kind of how she feels about things and how she perceives things, and where reality begins. And I think this can be a very difficult thing, especially if you've ever been someone who has undergone abuse, especially in the realm of psychological abuse. There's a lot of you look at movies like Gaslight, and it's just a lot of well, like where does what you actually know to be true, and where are you just projecting and things like that. And then for this particular series, because it is sci-fi, it ventures into that in a very disorienting way. It's the best way that I can put it without giving away too much, I guess.
Well,
but it's interesting to watch anyways, is what you're saying. You're kind of bringing mental health into a light where it's actually entertaining and people want to watch it so they understand what's happening.
Yeah, that's my goal, at least. It's a difficult thing to do. It's very nuanced, but I'm trying.
Well, I like how it says, and I love this word that some people use. They say, "Don't trigger me," but this is a different trigger. It says one particularly triggering evening with her boyfriend Trent throws Benny into a tailspin, and she crashes. She finds herself in dark territory. Sometimes people don't understand what that dark is, and to pull out of it is sometimes the most difficult part. So I guess the advice I would say you probably have, and what is it?
For people that don't, I guess when you say that, do you mean like for people that have a hard time? They
go into a dark place, so to speak. Yeah, they go in a dark place, and you gotta, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they don't want people to pull them out, but they got to pull themselves out. And then sometimes they have people to pull them out that say, "Hey, I understand. Don't worry." Like I've heard a lot of people that want to commit suicide, want to do a lot of things, and I've been there to help them out. But sometimes I'm not there because I don't know.
Right. I think the thing that I have learned over the course of my life is routine. Like, that sounds so ridiculous, but it's not. I think a lot of the times the perception is you do your mental health things when your mental health is struggling, and that's not true. Do your mental health things, like do whatever your routine is that keeps you out of it. Do it even when you're good. Consistently do it. It makes the down spirals, the difficult moments easier, but it also makes you know what to do. Like if it's just constant and it's in your body and you know how you're supposed to respond to everything or how you normally respond, even if you're not sure if it's going to work, you know what to do. Get up and exercise, get up and take a walk, and get out of bed if it's something like depression. Like the little things that you can do every day that help build that, like you just practice. Practice makes perfect, and it does help. It doesn't mean those dark moments don't happen, but it makes them lesser and lesser. If you know
well said.
what your what your routine is.
Well said.
And where do you want to see this? This is currently a web series. Do you want to continue expanding it out with, full seasons? Do you want to keep it as a web series? Where do you see this going?
I think for this particular bit, I would really like to keep it as a web series. I think the short form actually really adds to the intensity of the series, like having to do everything so quickly in such a short period of time. I think really actually adds to the emotion that we're trying to elicit from the audience.
Yeah, well, good job, Christine. Great job. And I'll say this, it's kind of a thing that needs to be out there. And I say, there's a lot of people, for example, that I actually talked to in London and other areas, including one. She's actually being stalked by a guy. She had to put a restraining order on the guy. But there's a lot of people going through these things, and it's like they don't know how to get out from under, So sometimes these stories come out, and you go, okay, and you don't want to be. I like how you put it. You mentioned it. It's complex PTSD, and sometimes for people that don't have it, you don't know what that is. Some people think, if you serve in the war, which I know a lot of people are getting drafted right now in Russia, but a lot of people don't understand the emotional toll that a abuse or someone who is in an abusive relationship can get, even by like a word. A word can put you into like, oh no, I don't know what to do,
Yeah. I think that's a really important thing as people learn more and more about complex. I only learned about it a couple of years ago. It's really interesting to look at it does look very, very different, and it is harder to explain because I think if you can say this specific thing happened to me, like a situation like where people are more apt to understand, it's like something that they can like physically go, oh, I could see why that's traumatizing. Things that you can't explain, things that are happening in private, things that are happening in your minds, things that are happening just day to day, that may actually a lot of people don't even realize may be boundary pushing for individuals. Things that other people may not even see as problematic can be problematic to an individual, and especially over time. So it's very difficult to express to people what complex PTSD looks and feels like, and then what triggers do occur, and then what those triggers actually look like. It doesn't look the same as somebody who has war flashbacks. It can be emotional flashbacks. You say something to someone and they just start crying or they overreact to it and you don't understand why. So it's very, very important discussion. I hope more and more people start to understand what it is over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Christine, thank you for bringing that to the La Femme Film Festival 2022. Can't wait to see more from you. It's all happening this week, October 13th through the 16th. Those are the dates. You can get your ticket now. You can watch this show. Just click on the pink thing right there. It says select a showing, and you can support Christine in that. Also, oh, by the way, Christine, where can we follow you and all your great stuff?
Oh, I'm on Instagram at outa_my_skin. And you can also, Knock 'em Dead Productions on YouTube is where you can also follow me if you want to see, more.
Even better. All right. Yeah. Christine, thank you so much for bringing what you brought to the table, so to speak, and thank you for getting this made. Congratulations on that. That's very difficult, and not going to say you're not. Like, you probably don't like this, but man, you got a great brain at a young age.
Thank you. I'm not that young, but I really appreciate it. Wish I was younger.
Yeah. Well, you have a gray hair like me, you'll understand. Thank you, Christine.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you. Good one.
In the beginning, all films were short. It's not a charity. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help your cause. We're there to make our money make money.
It probably takes a year to 2 years to really start seeing money.
That title of executive producer on a feature is not the same as the title of executive producer on a television show.
Don't give yourself a bad review before you start.
I'm sorry, I'm super awesome, and this is my pitch.
We're joined right now with Sonia, and Sonia, you got a very interesting film, and it's something that is, it's called Cray, and it's a dramedy pilot about maternal mental health. We were just talking about mental health just a moment ago, but what is this about?
Yes. Hi, Erin. Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for having me. So Cray the film is a proof of concept pilot as an idea for a TV show. It's about two best friends, Cora and Ray, which is kind of the play on the word, part of the play on the title Cray. And it's about the dynamic of this friendship between two women. One is a new mom who is suffering from severe postpartum depression, and the other one, Ray, who's very single, and very disconnected from this journey into motherhood that Cora is experiencing. And they're such dear friends, like sisters, but this life change has really forced them to grow apart, until Ray discovers that Cora is depressed and is about to kill herself, when Ray walks in. So it's just about the dynamic between the two of them, Cora's journey with postpartum depression, and Ray, how she can be there for her friend, and how that ultimately helps her grow as a person as well.
Well, I love the moment that little baby, he's like, what's going on, Mom? So look, a great story. Obviously something that needs to be talked about. And, Rebecca was talking about that earlier, how it's very necessary. And I think if anything, you brought something, as I think most filmmakers do, especially in the independent world, they bring a story of their own. Well, what's that story you like to let people know about without getting too personal, obviously?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be fully transparent. I struggled with very severe postpartum depression after I had my first kid about 2.5 years ago, right at the start of the pandemic. And I felt very isolated and alone. I felt like it was a stigma. I didn't feel comfortable talking about it freely with people, and if I did bring it up, it just I just felt uncomfortable with the way it was received. And I think it's just mental health, maternal mental health, all of that is it needs to be broken in mainstream media. We need to break the stigma. And that was kind of what inspired me to create this show. Also, I'm not, I'm trying to target moms, but I'm also trying to target the support system surrounding the moms, because ultimately when they are the ones struggling, the partner, the best friend, the family member, these are the people that need to be there for that mother and to make sure it doesn't, get dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I think mental health in general is definitely a topic that needs to be addressed, but I mean, I've never had children, so I can't relate or understand really, I guess, but I think that that's probably something that's even more of an important topic to talk about, because, it's one thing to have mental health issues and not want to talk about it, but it's another thing when you're supposed to be going through the best time, the best years of your life, and you're supposed to have this formidable change of happiness and joy, and when you don't feel that, I think it's 10 times worse. So I'm happy that you're, bringing the conversation to light. Because I'm sure that there's a lot of women that probably need to see and hear this and not feel like they're alone and be able to open up about it as well. What was the journey getting to create this? Because you're the writer, director, star. Tell us about what the journey was like.
Yeah, it was quite a journey. I thought of the idea probably about like 6 months after I had my first baby. Idea was in my head for a while, finally just sat down and wrote the script. And then first I found my producer and my DP, Eric Michael Korkmer and Gemma Dahl-Grossman, who are fantastic. And they were kind of my skeleton crew. And then with their help, I did a crowdfunding campaign through Seed and Spark. We raised $15,000. We got our cast and production, everything went well with production. It was just very boom, boom, boom. I was just so like pumped to, once I had the idea and had the script, I just wanted to hit the ground running and just do it, not take too much time.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that, because you discussed something that men did not understand, and they judge harsh. And I've had friends who have not only had a kid, like a little one, right? And you could tell beneath the surface there's something going on. You can't call it out, because if you call out anything about postpartum depression, some people are just like, no, I don't have that. But I think it's telling in kind of like, if you read the description, there's a part where she's trying to kill herself. And he, Ray walks in on that. And then there's more that comes out from that, but it's a thing that sometimes it's in the news, because you go, why did that woman do that? But you go, well, was she a new mom? You go, okay. And then people go to the obvious, like, oh, well, then she, and there's a judge thing that comes out. And I say, don't judge. If anything, understand that it's very difficult. The body goes through a lot of things after giving birth. And some women just go through it differently than others, because some women don't understand this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very common. It's, so 1 in 7 women develop postpartum depression after having a baby. It's one of the leading causes, suicide related to TPD is one of the leading causes of death in postpartum women. And it's probably, I would say, number 1, but they, lots of times it's like drug overdose, which they don't know was this intentional or unintentional. So it's incredibly common, and it's, and everyone needs to, everybody, whether or not, like Rebecca said, whether or not you have children or not, everyone needs to be aware of it, and you need to know how to support the people that you love in your life that just had a baby. And like you said, Erin, they might be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have depression. I'm fine. So you have to just look for those warning signals, because they may not even know that they have it, and they may not feel comfortable saying it because it's stigmatized right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's important, and I think it's important also just to understand these things happen. We have film, thank God, and you have a lot of support. I'm glad you crowdfunded. A real quick question on that, because we asked a question yesterday about crowdfunding, and we say, don't let the limiting of funds prevent you from doing a good like project or script. How long did that take to raise those funds?
It was I did a 30-day campaign.
Wow. And how much again?
So for production, I raised, I set a goal for 12,000 and I raised for $13,500, and then
Wow.
I did post production. I raised like a couple thousand.
Good job. Good job. Well, I think you could do a lot with this, and I think you could even do a series of like a few, and you could tell each woman's story that battles it, and then maybe one where they kind of support one who eventually like almost on the brink, but then they save her. You know what I mean? Because there are those stories that never come out because they don't want it out. But I say if you share that, then you'll help people when they come across this and they don't know what to do. And I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know what to do when I came across certain things. I'm like, I don't know what to do because I'm a guy. And you're already gonna say you don't understand. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. But you know what I mean? So sometimes it's a little difficult for people that don't go through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then that's why I wanted to be a series, because there's so much more with just female fertility issues in general. So it's not just like postpartum depression. I want a show that's going to talk about like miscarriages, fertility struggles, like IVF, adoption, like all of those things, and how that affects us mentally with those struggles.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Awesome. Thank you very much for spending time with us. Congratulations on this. Again, it is called Cray, and it is a film that you can watch right now. It's a very good telling, and you can do so by clicking on the link. Thank you so very much for spending time with Sonia.
Yes, thank you. Both of you as well. You have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.
Okay, more after this.
Bye.
You know, in the beginning, all films were short. It's not a charity. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help your cause. We're there to make our money make money.
It probably takes a year to 2 years to really start seeing money.
That title of executive producer on a feature is not the same as the title of executive producer on a television show.
Because what you're seeing on television right now is history in terms of where decisions are being made today.
Don't give yourself a bad review before you start.
I'm sorry, I'm super awesome, and this is my pitch.
What are recommendations for packaging?
Getting to the right person at the right time, and you have the right piece of the package that they want to see.
And be able to adjust, because the plan will never execute exactly as you plan it.
If you set aside money for social media, for a publicist, for marketing, things like that, and really you don't have to sit behind those dollars, and you can have more control of your own release.
You can't go wrong. But as for me, I knew that my episode was either going to be awesome or fine. That's the risk you take.
We're here with Sarah. Sarah, you got a film. I'm not gonna mess it up. How do you say it? It's Miss
Shell Love, like seashell.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, I was going to totally mess it up. I apologize. And this is interesting. It's another film about art and those that actually help create art. What's it about?
Well, thank you. That's exactly it, is about art. But I wanted to tell the story of Miss Shilov, whose name is Sita Sadali, through her biography as well, because I wanted to highlight her creative process as well as her unique story. So I was looking for a way to intersect those two. And I did that by following her on a mural. She created a mural and interviewed her. So it's a biographical, but it's a lot deeper than that, because it's also a first generation story. It's a story of an artist. It goes into detail about visual arts. So it's multi-layered.
Yeah, I could tell. I love can and spray can, because sometimes, there are kids that do it. I go, why don't you, instead of defacing things, make art out of it? And then you could copyright it, because you know what I mean?
What's cool about, I too, I love when I see a spray paint can, I get very excited. There's something very glamorous about it. I think there's something very rebellious. But that's actually the only spray painting she did on the whole mural. It actually is a very small part of most work now, unless they're out there tagging on the street doing graffiti, which is letter-based, right? When it's inside and you're doing a mural that's figurative, that's people and other things, that's technically a mural, not graffiti. So yes, the allure of the spray paint can. I think street art is very, very cool and very romantic. I do. That's why I wanted to tell a story about it.
I agree. And what is this story that makes it particularly compelling that people would want to watch it?
Well, I think that there's...
Or why did you want to tell this story?
Thank you. I wanted to tell the story specifically because I was looking for a unique story from someone in my community. You know, I was taking a community approach to documentary. You know, if I looked around the street, whose story could I tell that I wanted to hear myself that I hadn't seen before? And I knew Sita, aka Miss Shilov, knew her sister. She was always posting her murals and graffiti on social media. So I followed up to ask if Sita would want to be the subject of a documentary. And thankfully she said yes, because it's been a great experience. But Sita has a very unique story in the sense that she's half Indonesian, half American, Indonesian mother, American father. And there aren't a lot of Indonesians in America, so the culture isn't as widely known, especially within the Asian community. Even they're minority within the Asian community, which is already minority. So that's something she feels very strongly, and she was raised mostly with that culture in America. As a teen, when she gravitated to graffiti, she also became involved in the local hip hop scene in Washington, D.C. We had a thriving punk rock scene at the time. It gave her the space to find her identity and work out who she was, as well as her art. So I think for those of us who love music and who went to local music scenes in our cities, I think that's very relatable. And it's interesting, you know, if you, I always like to find out, like LA has such a rich music scene, and it really shaped a lot of people growing up. So I think just art and life and trying to figure out who you are and, you know, how you weave the, you know, the threads of your parents and your lineage is a story that I hope people will relate to and find interesting.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's not everything has to be everyone has a unique story. And I think that we don't take enough time to learn your community, you know, your neighbor, the woman who has the bake shop, you know, anyone that's on the streets, these artists, what their stories are. So I'm excited to see, you know, everything about her and what her story is and what her journey's been. What has your journey been in film and getting this up and going?
Well, it's been quite a journey. I feel even with short films, it's always a journey with filmmaking. It was meant to be very short, minute and a half, to go on the web for an academic fellowship, actually, postgraduate one. So it started out in a very academic environment, you know, talking about theory and representation. But after just spending a day with Sita, I realized that she was way too interesting to just try to condense within a minute and a half. And also she's very cool. I mean, she DJs, you know, she doesn't just do murals, and she teaches, she's an activist. Like she's such a rich person, has such a rich story. So I decided I would pursue it. Although this is still short. I mean, I could have kept filming for sure. She did incredible stuff after I shut off the camera with her, and maybe I will one day. But so it evolved into still a short, but not a micro short. And thankfully, I was able to turn it into something that I could submit to festivals and share with people. And it's been really great. And Sita's enjoyed it as well, getting to talk to people, you know.
Well, and I'm glad it's included in the description. It says your aim is to elevate the voice for women and for the community, especially this one from her community, and visually tell her story. The result is a short documentary that unfolds Sita's life as she creates her art, one color at a time. And I think people kind of sometimes, you know, they don't know they have a story. I come across people all the time that say, you know, I want to write, I want to, you know, do something. And some say I will write a story eventually of my own, but sometimes you need somebody else to tell the story, to do so in a way, because when you kind of get like there, you're like, I don't know where to start. And you kind of just say, let's just see what happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Sita's been around for quite a while. I mean, I was walking by her murals. She's a very humble person. I mean, she's there to do the art. I think also within the graffiti culture, it's very much you don't call attention to yourself. You know, you're there to do the work. People who know you know it's you because they know your tag, they know your style, and you're speaking to each other on the street. So I really, I mean, I'm just so grateful she gave me such wonderful access, because I was really allowed to shine a light into a world, you know, not just her life, but like a very strong thread is this subculture of like graffiti, and it really informs her approach and her thought process a lot. So I was able to shine a light into it, and I learned so much. I mean, it was exciting for me.
Well, it's among the list of films that we can watch right now this week, starting October 13th, all the way throughout. And if you want to support it, click on the pink button. It's called Select a Showing. And then you can support not just her, but also Sarah and all the great stuff. Sarah, what's next for you?
a feature-length doc about a poet. I like the arts. I think I'm going to stick with telling women's stories who are artists for a little while. So
I love that.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron and Rebecca.
No, thank you. Thank you for making the 2022 season a great one to remember. Okay, we'll see more right after this. Stay tuned. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
We're here with Chris. Chris, you got a film there. It's called Forests of Hope. It looks really neat. It's a documentary film presented by Mary Kay Inc., written, directed, and produced by an all-female team. It's a journey to the front lines of the battle to save the planet from the threats of climate change. Boy, are we talking about that right now, huh?
Yep, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So tell what was the moment like when you said, okay, we got to do this right now?
Well, so Mary Kay approached me. They have a program that they sponsor down in Monterrey, Mexico. Sorry about the lighting. I'm under a tree.
That's okay.
But then again, the short's about trees, so fitting. They approached me because a friend that they were talking to in Mexico suggested me. I grew up in Mexico, Mexico City. And so I jumped at the chance to highlight somebody in Mexico who's doing really good work for the environment. She's also doing really good work for her own community and raising up. It's a story of women's empowerment as well. And when I saw her story, you bet I jumped at it, because we rarely get a chance to highlight women in their 70s who are doing such good work.
Yeah, I think it's a nod to the work that is kind of like, I'll put it this way, and they say, as of years before, it's not a thing. It's just a little smog. It's just a little this or that. But now with volcanoes kind of adding, I think we had 50-some volcanoes all in 1 year, which is unprecedented for years. That adds to the footprint. And you show fires, you show wildfires, you show a lot. What was that like when, A, you got approached, and B, when you're like, okay, I got to tell this story and I got to give it the time of day so people understand where we are, literally, because you talk about Mexico.
So I was approached by the team, the creative team, and they sent me a bunch of stuff. The group that Angelica, her name's Angelica Torres, that she works with primarily, although she does grow saplings for other groups, but the primary group is the Nature Conservancy. The office is down in Mexico. And they sent me all this stuff, and I was looking at it, and I looked at Angelica, and I realized that our environment is transforming on a daily basis, often in a negative way these days. But she was also transforming herself, her community, and the environment around her for the better. That fire that you saw that we were supposed to shoot, and the same week, I think it was a week or two out from going down there, they had they had a fire that they ended up having to evacuate their own community. So we had to postpone, and we were down there. I would say, I think we were 3 weeks out from them getting back home. And even as she was evacuating, she was helping people from other communities. So it's a very prescient issue for them. They live in a forest that is
Yeah.
being logged, that is being, that fire was started by human error, which is also something that we deal with in California. They've also had fires that started by lightning strikes. Now, nature does often need to do fires here and there for forests for them to regrow and regenerate.
Yeah.
But we've also intruded on those natural processes. And we got, so when I looked at Angelica, I was like, if we tell Angelica's story, it can also reverberate out into just the full story of the environment and the impact that one person can make, just like the impact one seed can make by growing a
Yeah.
tree, right? And so that's
Yeah.
what I saw.
I like that. I like that. And I love, it says here, she's 71. Some would say young, an eco warrior in Mexico who cares for the community and for nature. First of all, I got to say, when I'm reading further, it says, for growing up with a 6th grade education and running a eco-sustainability initiative, she's not only bringing life back to communities surrounding forests, but also helping women in her village make a living.
Yes.
That in of itself must be pretty inspiring. What was that like when you first met her?
So the first time I actually met her through phone calls first before I met her in person. So I established a relationship with her so she would feel comfortable when I got down there with, we had a very tiny footprint of a crew. Everyone else in the crew came from Mexico, which was important to both Mary Kay and myself. And it turned out that the DP actually went to the same elementary school I did in Mexico City before he went off to graduate school, to boarding school. But it was kind of cool. So we got there, and after just talking to her on the phone, she's just such a lovely human being and cares so much about both the trees and the well-being of her town and the women in her town. And I just started to get even more like, I want to do justice to this story and really tell her story well. And we got down there, and it was so welcoming, her family, herself, and the whole community. And, that the economic sustainability that she fosters, these women have homes often that don't even have indoor plumbing, and now they've got money to put in a bathroom inside, like things that we would never even think about, that we take for granted. They're just making their life that much better. And to be honest, the most inspiring thing about Angelica is she doesn't realize her own footprint. She just does it because it's in front of her to do, and she thinks it's the right thing to do. And she doesn't realize the ripple effect of what she's doing. And isn't that a beautiful thing? She's not at all doing it to make a name for herself. It's just there to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's not only something that, other people go, I wish I could be that eventually. Sometimes you don't know when you're already that. I meet a lot of warriors along the way that are doing something just because A, they believe in it, and B, because they just know it's the right thing to do. But sometimes along the way, it's the fight of certain people that go, no, we want it the way it is. And right now, there's a fight, even now, with the world where it's at when it comes to certain like things that are popping up when it comes to quality of air, quality of life, and quality of just, like I could think of China, when China actually had oxygen masks, I think, and they had oxygen tanks just to be able to breathe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they got out of that. But, you go, well, what next, right? And with flooding being more than it ever has been, not saying it's a new thing, right? But there's some unprecedented numbers that they're looking at, and they're going, uh-oh, the glaciers are melting. That's not good. There's a lot of things we get here on the news that I go, to people that don't watch us, and they say, wait, what? And I go, yeah, there's new information. It's almost like everything that they would say like in 2012, 2011 said, oh, this will be like 100 years in the future. It's now. We almost have the day after tomorrow now. I showed my mom that, and she was like, oh my God, these things are really happening, because now we're talking about certain movements of ice. And now we're seeing the rising of waters, like in Florida, there's rising of waters with this storm, with the hurricane. It's moving inland. So I say, if you're at sea level for the next 3 years, be a little higher than that, because your place at sea level, especially if you're near the beach, it might be a little flooded,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's all over the place. But I will tell you, I grew up in Mexico in the 70s and 80s. So I moved down there when I was 1 with my family. not my own self, and lived there until I graduated high school. So until I was and we had smog days because back in the 70s and 80s, pollution was really bad in Mexico City, much like you're talking about in China. And we had tags on our cars. There were certain cars you could only drive certain days of the week. They were implementing all this stuff. So these are issues that I think a lot of nations, other than the United States, have maybe paid a lot of attention to because it's affected them very personally. And the city, at least Mexico City, I know I've been there, recently. It's not as actually smoggy as it was back in those days. So there is ways to combat it. We just need to have the will to combat all of this and to hopefully save our planet, and to be able to show a woman in her 70s doing that, to me, was pretty inspiring. I mean, I'm 52 and I look at her and I go, I can still fight for our planet. And I hopefully younger people can see that as inspiring as well. You don't have to, you can be any age and make an impact. Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to say thank you. I know we got Rebecca there, and I know Rebecca, you have to bounce. She's in Europe right now, so it's almost like past midnight. You know what I mean? But so we got Europe, we got Mexico, we got the US, we got everything all around the world, and you could view it right now, right? Huh? Well, basically, we can all we can all tap into each other right here, right now. And so I want to say thank you, Chris, for bringing this story. Rebecca's going to bring it to her friends in Europe, and we're going to bring it here in LA. All right. Okay. Thanks so much, Aaron. Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, as well. That's right. It is Kate. Hello, Kate. I know we startled you right there. We're like, boom, you're there.
Hi.
Hello. Hi. I know you're part of a great lineup, and including this. It's an award-winning coming-of-age drama short called Parallels. That word, I love the word, but there's much more to it. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Where do I start? Well, this story is based on true events. It included a lot of my mom's life and my experience as well. And the name Parallels comes from similarities in our paths that I found out about later. And this sort of inspired me to write this piece, in order to honor her name and to also shed a light on teenagers who go through loss, and when they're young and they're going out in the world and, they're finishing school and everything seems bright and happy, but, sometimes life gets in the way.
Yeah. I can see it. It's a very emotional few moments there that I could see. And sometimes when you tell a story like this and you have to live it, especially in the moment, it's kind of hard to shake it, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the whole process of creating this short was very emotional from beginning to the end. It's really, it was like a therapy in a way for me as well. I'm sure a lot of writers go through that, but actually being able to create this short took a lot of my energy, emotions, everything. But it was experience that I needed to go through, and I'm not talking just about like filmmaking stuff. It was
Yeah.
something like I had to overcome in order to move forward.
Yeah. Well, and I love, I keep saying support the people of Russia, right? Russia's in the news right now a lot. But I always say, sometimes people don't always agree with what happens to others. Some do, some support. I know there was a thing that we have to report on this week, which was a huge thing in Russian area. But this actually, you shot it in Russia, or how did that happen?
Yeah, so I funded the film both in the United States and Russia. It was mostly supporters of my, my personality, my craft, my work. And I shot film in Russia. Yeah, it was my first experience working there as well in filmmaking. Like, I barely knew anyone there. So I had to assemble a team, which was amazing. And yeah, I know, there are a lot of things happening in the world right now, and obviously Russia's in really bad light, and I completely, sympathize people, who are here, and happen to just be born there or who are there, like my friends struggling and stuff. But my film wasn't about, that. My film was obviously about, it's not about who you are. It's about just being, it's about, I think it's universal because a lot of people are born, where they're born, and they're dreaming about something big and beautiful. And, it could be any suburban city in the States, somewhere like really, I don't know, deep, in the States. So like, I feel like just the desire to pursue your dreams and your deepest desires, that's what's driving the film, really. And yeah, obviously, this was very personal because I was born in Russia. But it's, really, I think it really can be relatable to a lot of people.
Well, it is, and that's always what I say. When you take the politic out, when you take the war out, when you take the bomb or missile out, you take the discussion of nuclear, you take all that out, you have a life on the opposite side of the world. And I think this really tells that. Just like, some don't even understand when you're in Russia, there's certain things said about US that you would go, oh, I didn't know that, right? And I say, yeah, sometimes US is not actually, the smartest, in the world. And sometimes other people don't understand that. But I say, look at the human, look at the story there. And I think you tell the story really well. And I love the way you say this. It says it follows Lena, a headstrong and creative teenager in suburban Russia who is figuring out who she wants to become. One thing she knows for sure is to live a creative life while seeking the support and approval of her conservative parents, and we all know we got them, right? She receives news that makes her reconsider what's important in life. It's a combination of tension and of course, much more. So, you know what? Look, what I love about this is, again, it's a story about a young girl who goes through life, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's, for me, it was important to show relationships, obviously, between mother and daughter. So I covered that a lot. But yeah, we are seeing the world through Lena's eyes, of a regular teenager in suburban Russia. And, she dreams about being in LA, actually, and pursuing acting and living a creative life. But of course, there are a lot of things that are against her, and first of all, like her parents, so it's, I'm not going to discuss basically the climax of the movie, but for me, it was important to show the relationship between parents, right? And also how life can be, how life can just turn around in a second, and yeah, you're thinking you're struggling with this part of your life, which in my case, it was convincing my parents, hey, please believe in me and let me just do my craft, right?
Yeah.
But then life just is so unexpected, like, and it turns around in a different way, and you're like, oh wow, like I have a different challenge now, and there's something deeply, like there's something more important. And also you as a person, of being 16, you all of a sudden you realize, oh my god, I have to grow up now. Like no, those problems are not anymore the problems. Like there's something bigger than that. And I guess that's what's the take of this, I guess.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I know there's a lot of films. I see there's already a lot of little labels of awards. So good job on that. I got to imagine, bringing it to the Femme Film Festival, you kind of get to surround yourself with a lot of other, well, let's put it this way. I know this week is going to be fun. I know Leslie always brings everyone together. She says, hey, let's have some fun, even if we do so virtually. So I think if anything, I can't wait to see what comes, let me put it this way. I know it takes people to do this. I know we're just interviewing you, but you put a whole team together. So keep it up.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, at the end of the day, the only thing we can do is just, do better in life, be kind to each other. And, I think my film is about creativity, art, love, relationships, parents, like it's all universal, and it's all like good family values, and I think I'm just trying to really shed some perspective, I guess, on people out there, because I don't think a lot of people in the States know what it's like to be there, but we also are so the same, we still have we share the same values, the same problems, so I think it would be interesting maybe for someone to see like, oh, how people think over there, how do they go through stuff there?
Yeah, you identify is my point, and you bring that part of it, so that people say, yeah, that's right. Because I always say, remember the people of Russia, you may not agree with the guys that lead everyone, but believe in the people and why they're fleeing and going to Alaska, So, be good, be safe, and thank you for bringing this to us. Can't wait to see it. Again, we'll bring it up right here so you can check it out. If you want to just get this one and support Kate and all the great stuff that she's doing, you click on Select a Showing right there, and it's called Parallels. All you have to do is click on the link below and attach to this video, and you'll be able to get right there. Just look for the poster. It's right there, already winning a lot of awards, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be nominated again and again. So great job, and keep it going, Kate.
Thank you so much, Aaron Michael. I really appreciate it, and thank you to the judges, obviously, for being able to see my film and to select it. I'm really excited about it.
All right, more after this. Stay tuned.
Yes.
In the beginning, all films were short. It's not a charity. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help your cause. We're there to make our money make money.
It probably takes a year to 2 years to really start seeing money.
That title of executive producer on a feature is not the same as the title of executive producer on a television show.
Don't give yourself a bad review before you start.
I'm sorry, I'm super awesome, and this is my pitch.
Thank you. Thank you.